It's a second home. It's where you put your groceries, you carry your kids, you eat, you spend endless amounts of time. But what if I told you that your vehicle was actually a bacteria trap? You'd be pretty shocked. We decided to do our own investigation to uncover what germs are living in your car, and you won't believe what we found. If you're like most Americans, you spend a lot of time in your car, and you probably don't clean it as often as you'd like, or should.
It is tough to keep a car clean. Really, honey, you're here. Busy schedules, kids.
I clean my car rarely. I shake the rugs off once in a while.
To find out just how germy our cars are, we sent a member of our ACE medical unit to Montclair, New Jersey, a typical leafy New York suburb, to swab the interior of 5 random cars in 5 different places. The steering wheel, the car mats, the door handles, the air vents, and in between the seats.
Unfortunately, you might find some doggy feces bacteria type stuff.
I guess if you found maggots or bugs, that would freak me out.
I'm a little scared.
Then we packed up the swabs and delivered them to the lab of the best germ man in the business, Dr. Philip Tierno at New York University. And what he found shocked even us. Here to help us reveal and analyze results is world-famous microbiologist Dr. Philip Tierno. Dr. Tierno says that there are germ hotspots in the car. Now, where are they?
Anywhere people frequently touch or where food is deposited.
That's a lot of places in the car. Yeah. Also joining us is Lori. Thank you for joining the show, Lori.
Okay, so
If you just saw her in the tape, who's very bravely let us investigate her car. So how much time do you typically spend in your car in a day?
About 2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours. This is, I think, pretty typical of the average American. All right. So Dr. Tierno, hotspot number 1.
Hotspot number 1 are the car mats.
And what type of bacteria typically are there?
In fact, it's a repository for all sorts of germs.
Okay.
In fact, just think of where you step. You walk on sidewalks and soil. You walk and touch human feces with your feet, urine, vomit, sputum, and then you walk with your shoes on top of your mats, and you deposit that day in and day out.
So Dr. Tierno, what did you find?
Actually, we found Enterobacter aerogenes and Serratia marcescens, among other things.
Yeah, that's what they look like. Now, they look ugly, but they can also affect us. How do they do that?
These are fecal organisms. They're indicators that feces is present. And where you find these, you could just as likely find, let's say, an enteric virus, like stomach flu virus or some other enteric pathogen.
Who goes into your car?
My kids.
Okay. And how often do you clean your mats?
Not very often.
Yeah.
Like every 3 months?
Every 3 months.
Maybe.
Dr. Tierno, what do you think about that? What's the solution that might work?
Yeah, the solution, the best thing you can do is to have rubber mats that can be washed with soap and water periodically. They best release the germs. These carpets become repositories of germs, and they're more difficult to clean. Soap and water, rinse it out, air dry it periodically.
So I'm actually going to start cleaning my mats because I heard about this. I mean, I think we all have this. Frankly, you can't control that. It gets into your car one way or the other. And I think making it a more frequent cleaning opportunity is probably one option, but this is a good idea because it keeps this repository away from the bad stuff that gets into it. Thank you very much.
Thank
All right.
you.
How are you? What's your name?
Hi, I'm Geraldine.
Great, thank you, Geraldine. So, hotspot number 2, Dr. Tierno, what is it?
Hotspot number 2 is actually the steering wheel and the handles on your car.
And why is that?
Because they become a repository of anything that's on your hands. 80% of all infections are transmitted by contact, direct and indirect. The 10 worst things that are germ-riddled are your fingers, and they transmit organisms all over.
So assuming that Geraldine is like the rest of us, you probably found something interesting on, I don't know, the steering wheel, this handle?
Yes. In fact, we found E. coli. And that's another indicator organism that fecal-borne bacteria are present, as well as other organisms.
You surprised?
Yes, sort of. I actually wipe with antibacterial wipes the steering wheel, the window, and the area, and I actually do it quite often. And I wash my hands a lot, so it's very funny. But I do have a dog,
Yeah.
as you saw on the tape, and my doggie sits on my lap sometimes, and she licks the window, and
Right.
so,
So
it
basically
could
you're
be
the-
from her. It's her, not me.
So what does E. coli cause?
Well, E. coli is an indicator organism where you find enteric bacteria. You can easily find enteric pathogens, and you can get diarrheal episodes, gastroenteritis, and things of that nature from them.
And Geraldine's approach was just to use these antimicrobial wipes. Do these
Yeah.
actually make sense?
They actually make sense. The alcohol is pretty good, and some of the foam cleaners are new. The wipes they should be chlorine containing because they effectively and efficiently kill bacteria. Some of the quats do not do that and take longer to work.
So that might be one little tip you might pick up from this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How are you? What's your name?
My name's Veronica.
Veronica. Let's talk about item number 3, hotspot, germ hotspot number 3.
Hotspot number 3 is the cracks and crevices in the car. In between the seats, in the back, they can become a repository for all sorts of food stuff, and it becomes a culture medium for the growth of all sorts of germs.
Does your backseat get a lot of action, Veronica?
Not as much as it used to.
Not as much as it used to. Very nice. Good. That's very good, Veronica. So what did you find out, Katerina?
Actually, we found spores of Aspergillus niger. It's a fungus that can exacerbate asthma and allergies. Yes.
Yeah, and these fungi, they hide in there, and it's hard to get them out. Especially when you get a lot of stuff accumulated. So what's the best solution?
Your best solution is to periodically clean out your source of food with a vacuum cleaner, especially with an upholstery type connector in between the cracks and crevices, and also utilize a cooler where you can compartmentalize your food. You can place all the food items in one space, so that'll cut down on some of the debris. Many people don't do that. They place the food on the seats.
This is an idea that we started doing in our household because my backseat looks just like that. And I don't like going out there with the vacuum cleaner, so this keeps it clean, compartmentalized. At least the kids can dump the junk in there. And unfortunately, it's not the only place that we found mold in your car. Dr. Jerna, where else? What's the germ hotspot number 4?
Number 4 is the air conditioning vents. In actuality, most cars have air-conditioned filters, but your release vent, often during the summer when the humidity is high, collects condensate. The water accumulates. Where there's water, there are fungal blooms. You eliminate the water, and you can eliminate the fungi. So I do recommend periodically cleaning with a brush. They sell brushes with like a cloth type material that can be placed in this, especially during times of humidity, high humidity, and overuse of your AC. Alternatively, you can actually throw on the heater periodically to cut down on that water that's present.
Now, that heater idea, I think, is a very effective one. If you can run it for about 10 minutes, kill off a lot of the mold, fungus that's in there. It's a pretty effective way of taking care of something else, a problem that you may not want to have. Because, when you turn that on, it just blasts that in your face. Dr. Tino, thank you very, very much. As always, encyclopedic and insight. To all my guests. We'll be right back.